The original version of Kingdom Hearts 1 came out 22 years ago, and between the version which I grew up with and the 1.5 Final Mix version, which we're also familiar with today, there's actually some pretty hefty differences. Today what we're going to be doing is going through some of what I personally think are some of the biggest and most impactful changes between those two versions. So, for any OGs in the audience, prepare your walking sticks and reading glasses, because for you, this will be a mere toddle down memory lane. What the fuck is a toddle? However, for any noobs out there, listen up, because I'm about to teach you a valuable lesson as to why you should be grateful the Final Mix version of Kingdom Hearts 1 exists. Do you remember this cutscene?
Kyrie's inside me?
You do? Excellent. Do you also remember that it had a runtime comparable to only that of the Batman? That's 3 hours, by the way. Well, in the original version of Kingdom Hearts 1, you were prohibited from skipping the cutscenes. Unless you've experienced this firsthand, you won't realise that it's basically the biggest travesty, since losing the race to Riku and having to name your boat Highwind instead of XX Putty Slayer, which we all know is the better name. So, after I got my ass beat by Riku 500 times because my tiny impaired child brain and my little fat fingers just couldn't work together to press the correct buttons, I then had the pleasure of listening to his dark, self-sucking monologue every single time. Combine that with "There's no way you're taking Kyrie's heart." You are on a one-way journey to a guaranteed mental breakdown, man. Sometimes I just fucking sit there and stare at the skip cutscene button like a proud dad and reminisce in a time long forgotten. In the OG release, there was no triangle commands. Back in 2002, the triangle button wasn't utilised for things that weren't in the command menu. This meant that actions like talk and open just replaced the attack command and were activated with the X button instead. Like Square Enix, the button is right there and it does nothing outside of combat. Even in a fight, all it'd do is send Dolan and Gooby to get whoever it was that you were looking at the time, which, to be honest, was probably more of an inconvenience than anything. I'm good. Another thing that I actually wanted to throw into this one was that alongside utilising the triangle button for things outside of combat, they also started to use it for things in combat, like limits and special abilities, such as Strike Raid or Ars Arcanum. This is just kind of one of those things that you didn't realise was absolutely essential until they did it. Like, where the fuck did we ever do that old shit? This makes way more sense. And then Kingdom Hearts 2 came along and you could just open chests mid-combat, mate. Absolutely game-changing, revolutionary shit right there. This change was about as significant as when they banned smoking in indoor public places in the UK. Like, guess what? The kids can breathe again. How fantastic. It's a miracle. There's an old man walking past my house. I can see him. He can see me. Broke the fourth wall for a second there. I do apologise. It wasn't the original what I'm going to consider to be like 3 big post-game bosses. You had the really cold, pointy one, you had the spooky one, and you had the one that made you want to kill yourself. When the Final Mix version came out, it was released with 2 bonus altercations, one of which I personally think is the best fight in the game. First one was Kurt Ziza, that's this fella. He was lovingly named after a fan that won a competition, and he's found in Agrabah after taking a short magical ride on a carpet. Now, I am cheating with this one a little bit because he was in the original English release. However, he was not in the Japanese version, which came out, I think, like several months before that. And the second one is unknown. I wonder who that is. Xemnas is the best fight in Kingdom Hearts 1, and I will fight anybody that disagrees. It also gets bonus points because you can summon Tinkerbell. Pretty cool. And lightsabers. The Final Mix version was stacked with new Heartless types. These fights usually consisted of some kind of mini-game, such as, which teapot is going to give me an aneurysm today? Or, oh shit, I forgot all of my high potions and now I can't do anything. These will, if done correctly, result in some kind of special synthesis item, only dropped by that one enemy type, kind of like how monkeys gave us AIDS, but not the clap, you know, the same sort of principle. This in turn meant that in the original you had less synthesis items to collect, and subsequently, less things to synthesize. It also meant that in the original, the ultimate weapon was about as easy to obtain as, well, clap, I guess. Along with new bosses, Heartless, and synthesis items, there was also 2 brand new keyblades for you to relentlessly flail around like you're having a violent seizure. The first one was aptly named Diamond Dust, which does sound like an alternate name for a Class A drug, and it was obtained by blocking the Ice Titan's frozen shards of semen back towards him. It's a Keyblade focusing solely on MP and is about as weak physically as my granddad on life support. In Kingdom Hearts 1, your magic damage is actually determined by your maximum MP. It's kind of like when you save up your loads for like 2 weeks and then there's so much of it, you just fire that shit out at like 200 miles per hour and nearly shoot a damn hole in the wall. So after this Keyblade has injected anabolic steroids directly into your MP bar, you'll just be roping everywhere. Keyblade number 2 is kind of like me in my family, the most disappointing one out of a lot of them. It's appropriately named the One-Winged Angel and is obtained by emerging victorious from the fight with the long-haired Chad with the sword, longer than my life expectancy. It's one of the most aesthetically pleasing keyblades out there for sure, and it even has this really cool fire effect, which reminds me of my anus after spicy food. I'd be very surprised if people make it through that one. Welcome to the Wheelbite channel, where we take it to places that even David Attenborough hasn't been before. Back in sunny old 2002, video gaming wasn't anything like it is today. Nowadays, there's some pretty universal things across many different platforms and game genres. For example, big empty rooms means you're probably about to get fisted by something much bigger than you, or, I don't know, the right stick controls the camera, maybe? Well, when I was basically still a fetus and not only had to try and figure out where in the ever-living fuck I was supposed to find a coconut, I also had to navigate trying to use the L2 and R2 buttons to rotate the camera, which is about as easy as trying to find your way through a hall of mirrors, upside down, on meth, blindfolded, all whilst trying to conceal an erection. It's just not going to happen. But yeah, you didn't mishear me. This is a real thing, and if you've experienced it firsthand, you will know that it's basically the biggest letdown since I told my girlfriend I wanted to be a YouTuber. I do actually implore that you try and find a way to try this out, because it's so weird. This one's a little bit of a shit one, to be honest, but I thought I'd run it by you just so I can explain how fucking terrible it is. Okay, Final Mix version actually introduced the gummi ship missions, which if you've done, know that they actually make you want to dig your own brains out with a spoon. It also provided you with another problem if you're a trophy collector like myself. Gummi Ship Collector is a bronze trophy in the Kingdom Hearts Final Mix HD collection, and you obtain it by collecting every single blueprint within the Gummi Ship missions. Now, it doesn't really sound too difficult, and honestly it's not, but the time it takes up is offensive. Just you wait till you're navigating your way through gummy space, you see that blueprint fall out of the enemy ship's ass, and then you just fly right past it completely by accident. What's that? You gotta start the whole route again? Yep, enjoy that, man. So glad I never have to do that again. This is like a little bonus one that isn't really that significant, but I think is quite cool. The Final Mix version actually shows off some recolored versions of some already existing enemies. Like if you take the Soldier Heartless, for example, you can actually see in the original release, they were like a navy blue with like purple accents, whereas in the Final Mix, they're more like black with tan accents. They recolored a bunch of bad guys, including the Guard Armor and Trickmaster, but you can actually find some of their original variants in the Colosseum Cups, such as the OG Guard Armor, and the Behemoth that looks like the shirt that I wore to the school disco when I was 11. That about does it. I'm sure there's many more things which you'll probably make me aware of in the comments below. I just wanted to give you the rundown of a few of them that I thought were quite interesting. As always, I do like to keep the outros brief, but if you've made it to the end of this, I appreciate your time today, and if you want to check out any of the other Kingdom Hearts nonsense that I've created, there's a whole playlist dedicated to it, so yeah, go nuts. I'll see you in a bit.